Hey guys, we're the Sports Addicts Podcast, and we're back again today with a breaking news video. Deshaun Watson has signed a 4-year, $160 million extension. When you combine that with his 50-year option, he's set to make about $177 million. So, Ash, what's your take on this deal?
Yeah, I think this is a great win for Deshaun Watson. I think one benchmark is obviously the Patrick Mahomes deal. No quarterback, at least in the near future, is ever going to pass that deal, but a lot of guys will come close. And Deshaun Watson's deal really came close in a lot of areas. The most important thing is guarantees. He gets $27 million signing bonus, and of his $160 million contract, 73 of that is fully guaranteed. And another thing to look at is this is like a 4-year deal. That means that he's likely going to finish this deal and get another mega deal once he's completed with this one. This one firmly puts him ahead of Russell Wilson's deal, even though, I mean, you could argue that he's not one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league. He's still young, but the Texans have never been afraid to extend guys. We saw it with Laramie Tunsil. We saw it a week ago with Zach Cunningham, the linebacker, and now they're doing it with Deshaun Watson. He's obviously a franchise quarterback, but the amount of money that they're paying for him in terms of signing bonus and yearly salary, there's no real outs in this deal. They're stuck with it. Even if he gets injured and he's out of the league, they're stuck with this contract for at least 4 years. So this kind of ties them together, and I think it's a risky deal because the amount of money that they're paying for him for a quarterback of his style that's kind of hold the ball for a long period of time, even if that means getting hit snap after snap. It's risky, but I think Deshaun got what he wanted. He got the security, and he's just ready to ball.
Yeah, so I think it's a win for the Texans. I think the Texans, at one point after trading DeAndre Hopkins, I thought Deshaun Watson actually might want out. And I think that this deal really secures them for the future. And I think having a starting quarterback that's the caliber of Deshaun Watson is really important in this league. And because, as you can see, like every team that's good has an above-average quarterback at least. And without Deshaun Watson, the Texans will go back to their old losing ways, like a quarterback carousel with like Brock Osweiler in the past. So I think definitely they made a good deal, even though it might be like a little risky with Deshaun Watson, but I think that it was a must move for them.
So obviously he's set to be with the Texans for the next 5 years, and after the big DeAndre Hopkins trade, his weapons consist of, at the moment, Will Fuller, Randall Cobb, Brandon Cooks, Kiki Kute, David Johnson, Duke Johnson. So what's your guys' outlook for like the Texans in like the next few years? Do you see them potentially taking like a big leap, potentially being better than what they were last year? So what's the forecast for the future?
I don't know. I think as long as Bill O'Brien, the general manager, he's not a bad coach by any means, but as long as he's a general manager, I don't see this team being a Super Bowl contender because their best defensive player, J.J. Watt, is 31, I believe, 30 or 31. He's really getting up there in age, and we all know in the last few years he's been struggling with injuries almost every season. I don't think he's played a full 16-game slate in a while. So they really need a difference maker on the defensive side. They have 3 franchise cornerstones in Laramie Tunsil, Deshaun Watson, and Zach Cunningham. I don't know if Cunningham is exactly what you would say a franchise player in terms of his ability, but they certainly paid him like one. So they're stuck with those 3 for the foreseeable future. But, I mean, I don't know. Tunsil played pretty well last year. He has had many penalties. I think he can clean that up this year and really play even better as a left tackle because he's still pretty young. But I think we'll have to see how they draft the next few years. And I think they got to get rid of Bill O'Brien as the general manager and hire a real general manager who's just in charge of making those moves instead of Bill O'Brien doing the coaching and the decision-making with players and free agents and drafting. So, yeah, I mean, unless they make that move, I don't see them making much of a push for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so I think with Bill O'Brien, obviously he's not a bad coach, but I think that they'll just be a perennial playoff team with Deshaun Watson. I don't think they can go any higher, but I think they're not bad enough to be any lower. So I think they'll just always be in that range where like the Tennessee Titans, they'll be like the new Tennessee Titans of being like a 9-7 to like 11 wins, 9 to 11 wins, or like sometimes they go lower at 8-8. I just don't think the Texans have the talent to be a Super Bowl contender, but then they have enough talent to be better than the bottom dwellers.
Yeah, one more thing to keep in mind is like the division, right? Division is obviously one of the weaker ones in all of football. Jacksonville is probably the worst team in football. We all know they're tanking for a very good quarterback next year. So but they're just not a very well run organization. And I feel even if they do get a great quarterback like Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, they're just not going to surround them with the proper talent where I feel like they're going to be serious
I
contenders
actually
in the
disagree with
AFC
that.
South.
They have like a lot of draft picks if you look at it, right? They traded obviously Jalen Ramsey. They got 2 extra draft picks for that. They've unloaded everyone. I think they're headed the right way.
They obviously have the capital, but if you look at their free agent signings, if they look at the position that they value, they spent a fourth overall pick on Leonard Fournette, which was on a running back who they just released last week. They spend so much money on free agents, and that's just not the way you build a team. They spend 16 mil, I believe, or 15 mil, something like that, on Andrew Norwell, a guard who was an All-Pro that season, and since then he hasn't lived up to his contract.
But his contract's about to be up, though. So.
I know, but just the way that front office is run, I don't think they put value on the key positions. So for the Jaguars, at least for the next couple of years, they're not going to be Super Bowl contenders or anything close to that. So that they're not really a problem. The Colts, they have Phillip Rivers this year. This is most likely going to be his last year, maybe one more after that. They're going to be contending for the AFC South. They'll definitely give problems to the Texans, but I mean, even after that, they don't have a franchise quarterback once Phillip Rivers leaves. And for Ryan Tannehill and the Titans, I mean, they paid a lot of money for Tannehill after just 1 year of great play. And you could say that all that play could be attributed to Derrick Henry. So, I mean, if you look at that division, there's not a lot of threats. So there could be a year where they just pound that division, go 6-0, get that first seed, and possibly make it to the Super Bowl. But that's one thing that's in their favor.
Yeah, so I think I agree with that. That's that they can probably win the division a couple times during Deshaun Watson's contract. But like if you look at the other teams in the AFC, they're the powerhouses, obviously the Chiefs and the Ravens. I don't think they're even like close to their roster if you look at it. They just don't have the talent to compare with them. They'll just be a team that like makes either wins the division or makes like the few wildcard spots in the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, there's a lot of ways this can go. I mean, if his supporting cast ends up being healthy, you can argue that the Texans have one of the better offenses in the NFL, and the offensive line can only trend up. Like, their play of like everyone except Tunzel was like pretty terrible last year, and they can only improve based on last year. So, I mean, there is hope for the Texans, but there's a lot of things will need to go right in order for them to make that leap from like just being like the team that makes the playoffs every single year to being like actual AFC contenders.
Yeah, I mean, for as long as Zach Cunningham is their best defensive player, I mean, right now their best defensive player is obviously J.J. Watt, but he's up there in years. But they really need to get a difference maker here in the draft, either or free agency, but most likely the draft. Get a really solid defensive lineman, or maybe even a corner or something that can really just be a franchise piece that really elevates that defense, because they're never going to be a top 5 defense. They just don't have that talent, at least in the foreseeable future. But they got to make some good moves in the drafting section to really compete with the Ravens and the Chiefs, as you said.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be fun to see how this plays out. And one last question I want to bring up is that obviously, as of now, he's the second highest paid quarterback. But like we know that like the highest paid and all that like label, it doesn't last that long. And like 2 potential guys that can get paid are Lamar Jackson of the Ravens. After this year, I think he'll be eligible for an extension. I'm not sure about that. And then obviously you have Dak Prescott, who's playing out this year on a franchise tag. Where do you see these? Like, how much money do you guys see these guys making in terms of like annual salary?
I think the Lamar Jackson contract. He can't get a contract right now. He has to have 3 accrued seasons, so he could sign it as early as next season. I think this season will be a really good indicator of whether Lamar Jackson is treated, or it depends on how he plays actually, because if he can show that he can pass when it matters, when they're down, he'll be paid as high as Patrick Mahomes, higher than Deshaun Watson without a doubt. But if he continues to play like he played in that playoff game against Tennessee where he fell behind and they just couldn't get the ball going, couldn't get the ball moving down the field, I don't think he's going to be making much. As for Dak Prescott, I don't know. We'll have to see how the season goes. If they can make the playoffs, he'll probably be making close to Deshaun Watson's money. If they don't, they might just franchise tag him and trade him. It'll be interesting to see what the Cowboys do.
Yeah, so I agree with the Dak Prescott statement. He's probably just going to get like a couple million less than Lamar at the end of the day. And for Deshaun, and then for Lamar, I think that the Ravens are in a tough situation. I feel like he's a quarterback that's probably the riskiest franchise quarterback in the league to sign up, because you never know when he can like tear an ACL or get injured. And obviously, we're not hoping for that, but I think that he's definitely a risk. And if you look at Tennessee and how they stopped him, if Lamar doesn't play to his best ability and they don't like really win as many games as they're supposed to this year, I think that there's a chance that he might like hit free agency or just not get an extension.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see how that plays out, because like in the next few years, obviously these guys are the face of the franchise. Like when guys like Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Roethlisberger, Rivers, guys like that retire, these guys will effectively be like the vets of the NFL. Like they're going to be like the next generation of the NFL. So it's going to be fun to see how this NFL season plays out and like what the future holds. And this is going to do it for our breaking news video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.